broadcasting from no closer than 100 yards from their court-mandated distance from Tim Ferriss. It's the Nice Guys on Business. Running a business is hard. Being a business leader is even harder. The Nice Guys bring in top industry pros to help your business prosper in a tough world. Get real advice from real people to get you real results today. Now it's time for the Nice Guys on Business. Here's your hosts, Doug Sandler and Strickland Bonner.
Hey everybody, it's Doug Sandler, host of the Nice Guys on Business podcast. Coming up today, we have a really fun episode. The reason I'm doing this preliminary intro of the intro that we're about to do of our guest today is because she was such a great sport. As I started to read the intro, completely flubbed her name. And then I thought, gosh, this is so typical of what I would do. Let's edit that out. And then I'm thinking, no, I don't want to edit that out. But then I wanted to make sure that you guys were aware that how great a sport that she was. So today's guest is Dr. Deanne De Vries. Now, that time I pronounced it correctly. But if you listen to the intro, you'll hear how badly I flubbed the introduction. But we discussed it after the interview was over, and she said, "No, go ahead, please. It was a great conversation. Let's leave it in there." But I didn't. I feel like I would be remiss if I did not say how good a sport that she was before, as a result of flubbing her name so badly in the intro. Here's the interview with Dr. Deanne De Vries. Check it out right here on the Nice Guys on Business podcast. All right, Nice Guy community, we're going to take a journey to a part of the world that you probably don't think a lot about, and even more rarely have you considered a part of your business plan. Now, for more than 30 years, Dr. Deanne De Vries has been changing people's and, wait a minute, I did it wrong. It was De Vries, right? Did I do it wrong? I did it wrong right out of the gate, didn't I?
It's fine.
Tell me I did it wrong. Tell me I did it wrong.
You did, yeah. Think deep freeze.
Deep freeze. Okay,
yeah.
I got it. Hey, can we leave all that in? Because I think my audience would love to hear some of the outtakes. Okay, so deep freeze. So Dr. Deanne De Vries has been changing people's minds and their company's mindsets for doing business in Africa by changing and challenging outdated images, opening doors, and introducing them to this term. I haven't seen this until today, African, the can-do continent. She's the author of Africa Open for Business. I'm excited to chat with her. Deanne, welcome to the Nice Guys on Business podcast.
Thanks, Doug. It's fun being here.
I'm happy to have you here. Warts and all, not for you, but for me, my community has probably, and you've heard a couple of episodes, and you have even read the titles on some of those Friday episodes. My job is to screw as many things up and still prove to people that they can podcast. So if I can do it, I know that so many people can do it too. I'm excited to chat with you about, this subject that really has never been in 1,310 episodes of our show, has never been a topic that we've even come close to discuss, doing business in Africa. What even started you down the journey of wanting to do business there or think about business there?
So as a 6-year-old kid, I heard that children in Africa didn't oftentimes have opportunities to go to school, or they didn't have libraries. And I grew up going to the library every Saturday. So I told my parents, with all the bravado of a 6-year-old, one day when I grow up, I'm going to Africa to teach kids to read and write. And 18 years later, I had that opportunity. And literally, when you go to Africa, it just gets underneath your skin. And so I landed in Kenya 30 years ago and haven't looked back.
Sometimes I think about, and maybe this is just part of the stigma or the mental association that I have with Africa. Sometimes I think of warring nations. I think of a lot of poverty. I think of things that probably are typical for somebody in a country like the United States that don't have a lot of dealings in Africa, for me to go down that path. And then I think, okay, not only have I not thought about business, I just don't know how, from a socioeconomic perspective, they even have the ability to stand on their own two legs. But in reading some of your background and listening to what other people have said about Africa, I'm completely wrong. So help dispel some of the myths. What are some of the myths? Can we talk about some of the myths? And then can we talk about some of the truths as it relates to doing business in Africa?
Absolutely. So my favorite myth to dispel is, you remember how in the 70s and 80s, we were all singing, we are the world, and do they know it's Christmas, and, raising funds. And definitely there were famines in Africa. Well, think about what you and I looked like in our yearbook pictures in the 70s and 80s. Thank goodness we've moved on.
I think my hair was winged. I think I had the wings in my hair.
Oh my gosh, parted down the middle, flat.
Yep,
It was horrid.
yep.
Thank goodness we look a lot better today. And so does Africa. But unfortunately, most people, that's still the picture they have. Maybe they've added a safari or something, but that's really it. And so I wrote my book for two reasons. A, for those that are really interested in doing business, but also just for a book that people will pick up and be like, oh, I never knew this about Africa. So some of the truths, some of the funnest ones for me are, we all have, I mean, how many of us have Apple Pay, right?
Yeah,
Well,
of course.
there's 1.2 billion mobile money accounts like Apple Pay in the world. Over half of those are in Africa.
Wow. No idea.
I mean, how many of us were like, wait, what? You mean we don't even think they have bank accounts, right? Well, yeah, they pay everything online with their mobile phone or their watches. So yeah, I mean, there's a company that took your mobile phone, and yes, Africa has challenges with electricity. So what they did is they realized that, oh, we've got to take the mobile phone and adapt it a little bit. So they changed the battery life, and there are phones in Africa that you only charge once a month.
What?
I want that phone.
I want that phone too, because normally I'm like once a day and it's not enough. And my iPhone says you've spent 60% more time on your phone today than you did yesterday. I'm like, really?
Yeah. I mean, and there's phones that you can literally do gaming with for 20 hours straight in Africa. Okay. So that also dispels the rumor that, Africans don't have phones, don't know about gaming, don't have internet access. The other thing they did with the phone is they adapted the camera to provide more light, so that, like, when I went to Victoria Falls in Zimbabwe, super famous place, I went with two friends who were African, who were Black, and I'm white. To get a picture of the three of us was like impossible. So what this company did is they added more light to the phone so that now all Africans or darker skinned people get perfect selfies. They also added dual SIM cards. So you're not just stuck with one telecoms provider, you can choose two. So who's ever got the best deal, you use. So yeah, there's just so much tech savvy going on there that we're just completely, unless you're actually on the continent, you're just like, I had no idea.
So talk to me about the landscape, the lay of the land for a moment. When you land there, are you landing in an environment? And again, I'm going to sound completely ignorant. And I told you at the beginning of this, I'm going to approach this from the third grade curiosity perspective. And if there's anybody in my nice guy community that I'm offending by saying any of these things, let me apologize first. But no, hey, look, we've been doing this show now for 1,300 plus episodes. If you're offended by anything I said, you would have left a long time ago. I don't think you would have stayed around this long. So let's talk about the landscape for a second. I imagine getting off an airplane in a very flat country that doesn't have a lot of not a lot of buildings. Now, am I completely wrong? Are there big cities in Africa? Yeah. Is it a lot of small cities? Is a lot of villages, huts? Tell me what's going on when I get there.
Oh yeah. So for starters, it's 54 countries, and each country is very unique. They have 3 cities. So the largest city in the United States is New York City. That's got a population of 8 to 9 million people. Africa has 3 cities that have more than 10 million. So what does 10 million look like? You combine Chicago, Houston, Phoenix, Philly, San Antonio, and San Diego.
Wow.
And then you get these cities. So, and you have cities that have skyscrapers, they have sports stadiums, they have amusement parks, they have, the glass hotel buildings and everything, whether it's, from all the same hotel chains we have across the US. And so there's definitely completely modern cities, as much like where I lived, for example, in Maputo, Mozambique, beautiful glass apartment building. And I would show people pictures. They're like, oh, is that in Dubai? And I'm like, no. They're like, oh, it must be in New York or London. I'm like, no, it's in Maputo. And they're like, where's that? I'm like, Africa. So, and that's kind of the fun too, is that, I mean, in my office, I would always have pictures of just cityscapes and landscapes. And people are just like, they would walk in and be like, that's Africa. Oh, wow. So yeah, you have universities, you have football stadiums. Well, they call it soccer. What we call it soccer, they call it football. So yeah. So
tell me a little bit about what type of businesses thrive from our environment that would thrive in Africa, and what would compel anybody that's in my community that maybe has the pockets to expand to an emerging market, or a full-grown global market like Africa. What would compel me to want to do that? But let's start with the first part. What businesses thrive, and then what would compel me to want to do business there?
Okay, great. So The businesses are pretty much everything that you and I would want. So you have their population, there's 1.3 billion people across the continent. 60% of those are under the age of 24.
Mm-hmm.
So that means you have people that want to do gaming, people that want to go to restaurants and gyms. So there's those kind of service industries.
I immediately thought Subway sandwiches. I don't know why I thought that. Are there franchises like that in Africa?
Actually, yes, there are. And you see probably McDonald's and KFC are the most popular.
Right.
But like in South Africa, they've even got Starbucks and Dunkin' Donuts. I don't know why the coffee in Africa is better. Sorry.
Yeah, well, Dunkin' Donuts. If Dunkin' Donuts is there, I'm interested. I want to go. And not so much Starbucks. Tastes like burnt coffee. But I'll tell you, if they got Dunkin' Donuts there, I am set. I'm feeling good about that.
Yeah.
So really, so anything that we think of that would be of interest here, are there any sorry, I know I'm getting ahead of myself. I'm like, what are the restrictions? All right, but let's talk about what businesses thrive, what would compel me to do that, and then let's talk about some restrictions or anything that. Okay, sorry, I know you're writing stuff down as I'm saying it. I apologize. I told you I'm going to be everywhere. I'm going to be everywhere.
That's cool. I love it. This is fun. So yeah, tech-based industries are huge. So for example, if there's anybody in your listeners community who are investors, there's a lot of opportunity in tech. Africans aren't necessarily looking to build the next TikTok, but they have tech apps that they have built that honestly could and should be used worldwide. One woman in Nigeria, think about waste recycling, picking up your garbage. Not really very sexy. So what she did is to encourage recycling. She created an app where she picks up the recyclable materials, they process them, give them to factories, and the families get green points, okay, for everything they recycle.
Mm-hmm.
And with those green points, they pay their school tuition, they pay electricity bills, and they go grocery shopping.
Mm.
I'm like, those kind of techie things are amazing. And there's a lot more advanced. Agriculture is another area that would be really good, as well as manufacturing. So doing value add. Africa, for example, grows cashews, they grow coffee, they grow cocoa. Why do all those things have to be taken outside of the continent? Why can't they just be processed on the continent?
In your experience, and again, you're the expert in this particular case, so I'm really curious, in your experience, is it a challenge for me to open doors over there if I have an existing business here that does something similar, or is it something that is as easy as doing business in, going from Arizona to California if I'm doing business?
It's a little more challenging than going from Arizona to California.
I get it. I would assume so.
Yeah. So what I've seen in the last 30 years is a lot of people come with an idea and money, and they're like, okay, I'm ready. And then a year later, they're leaving with their tail between their legs, just discouraged and bad mouthing Africa.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And so that's why in my book, I call it's the ABCs. Do you have the appetite for it? In other words, are you willing to get on the ground, to do your research, to, take the time to understand that environment?
Right.
B, are you going to have the bandwidth to raise up and train the local staff to figure out some of the cultural nuances? Because if you do that, then you'll know exactly how much capital. And the other thing is, capital isn't just your day-to-day business expenses or infrastructure to build a factory. Capital is also building relationships and a lot of training and development.
Yeah, I think that the biggest challenge that people would, or one of the challenges, maybe not the biggest one, but it's just the sheer distance between here and there. And, you're taking time to go there. I'm assuming that you would be going there, or you'd have to build a relationship with someone that would be your counterpart over there so that they can help you, put things together. Is that an easy, is there like a liaison or someone that you tend to work with? Are there people that specialize? Like, do you specialize in helping businesses get set up in Africa? And if so, how does that work? And tell me a little bit about how your services work.
Yeah, so I do. I mean, I work with companies. You have embassies that you can go through. You have chambers of commerce. The American Chamber of Commerce is in multiple countries in Africa as well. I oftentimes will work with companies where I sit down and say, okay, what's your appetite? Like, I'm working with one company right now that's in the service industry. And by accident, they were approached to do business in one country. And so they set it up, and now somebody in a second country. And so I know one of their executives, he came to me and he goes, we have no idea what we're doing. Can you help? It's like, okay, great. So I sit down and say, okay, what's your appetite? Where do you want to grow? Across the continent? Do you just want French-speaking countries? Do you just want to go one country, et cetera? This company has 4 lines of business. Do you want to do all 4? Do you want to start with one? So that I understand how hungry they are for business. Do they want to do it today, or are they okay with waiting, et cetera?
Right.
And then we go and we talk about bandwidth. So, okay, what kind of data do you need? What kind of statistics do you want? Do you want to own it? Do you want to just have a joint venture partner? Do you want to have just a sales office? And then when we know all of that, then it's like, okay, great. Now it's time to put together your strategy, and it's time to put together your budget.
Okay, so let's deal with that last one for a second, because I think that that's one area that many people are going to be curious about. What type of business or what kind of capital would I need to think about as a minimum when I'm thinking about wanting to expand into Africa?
So it's going to completely depend on your business. So, for example, I've worked with companies that have literally gone in and set up a sales office. So they have manufacturing equipment, farming equipment, for example, and they're going in to set up a sales office. So really they need an office and what I call the man and the dog. Mm-hmm. And then as they sell things, they'll ship it over there.
Making sure the man doesn't mess up with the equipment.
Exactly.
I understand. We talk about that every once in a while in the Nice Guys on our Friday episodes. There's the factory of tomorrow has 2 things, one man and one dog. The dog is there to make sure the man doesn't screw anything up.
Yeah. So, but then in another situation, I was building a network of international standard warehouse parks. So just picture warehouse parks the size of about 24 football fields. Okay.
Wow.
And so, I mean, each one of those is about a $200 million investment. And so that's a lot more substantial. So, you can fund that within your company, you can borrow the money from a bank, et cetera. And then you also go and work with the government, and all the governments have an investment promotion agency, and you sit with them and saying, hey, this is what I'm doing. And then all the governments have, just like you would in the United States, they have incentives to encourage people to invest in the country, to train their staff, et cetera.
How, in your opinion, again, how safe is your investment and your person? How, from a security perspective, are we safe physically there, and are we safe financially there to do business?
In general, yes, that is going to vary. There's 54 countries, and there's some of them, like there was one country that we were looking at doing business in, and my guys all were like, you are not going there. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, but they're like, no. And I'm like, okay. But I mean, the majority of the countries, I mean, I've been in probably 30 countries across Africa. I mean, I've walked across the border of Uganda and South Sudan, or the Democratic Republic of Congo into Zambia. So the majority of them, especially when you're going to build win-win, I mean, people are like, oh, but it's so risky. But it's like, actually, your local community, like when we're building these warehouse parks, we hire from the local community cleaners and guards, because they know everything that's going on in their community. And they de-risk our investments, because it's in their best interest, because they get jobs, they get better roads, they get better access to electricity. So when you're going in there to have that win-win relationship, yes, you need to make profit, but you also want to help the community around you. Then you de-risk your investment, and you also increase your safety.
If I draw a comparison, I think about our podcast production business, and while we do have some of our team works here locally in the United States, we have a number of people that are on our team that work in the Philippines. Mm-hmm. They're really great remote workers. They have a very good culture. The people are amazing to deal with. They have a very, nice work ethic, great work ethic. What is it about the team, the staff that you're going to accumulate in Africa would compel someone that's in our community to even consider using Africa as an outlet for their business?
Yeah. So I'll answer that in 2, remote workers, and also just your staff on the ground. Yeah. So there is an increasing amount of people that are tapping into tech staff specifically. Mm-hmm. So for example, virtual assistants, that could be finance, that could be social media, that could be design, that could be software development. Kenya, Rwanda, a lot of times for English speaking East Africa. You also have French speaking West African countries that are doing that. And of course, South Africa. So there's a growing amount of people that are being remote workers. On the ground, people are incredibly friendly. And one of the funnest things in my job is hiring people fresh out of university. And I describe it as I just look for that twinkle in their eye that they want to learn. I know that they don't know. I didn't know. Heck, I didn't know PowerPoint. Right. I learned PowerPoint and Excel on the job. I mean, when I started working, the floppy disk was still floppy. Okay.
Yeah.
So I just look for people that have a twinkle in their eye and want to learn. And yes, it takes time investing in them, but somebody invested in me. So I've got no problems. I enjoy actually passing it on. So you do have excellent staff. You might not have the 20 people to interview that you would have if you were hiring somebody in Arizona, but you do have staff. And I found it honestly fun to work with them.
Yeah, it seems like, from your experience, and I want you to chat a little bit about your book. And I also wanted to share with our community how they can get in touch with you for a discovery call to see even if doing business in Africa would make sense for them. But let's talk about the book for a quick second before we get to the discovery call. So what compelled you to write the book, and give me the lay of the land when it comes to how the book works and what people should be picking it up for?
So I've spent the last 30 years across the Middle East and Africa, mostly in Africa. And everybody's always been telling me I'm a storyteller. So I love to speak. I love public speaking. I love panels. I love moderating panels. And I just love telling stories. And people are like, you need to write a book. You need to write a book. So, what do you do during COVID? You write a book.
You write a book.
And it's funny because I've been saying for last probably 12 years, it's like Africa, it's ABC, appetite bandwidth capital. And so I actually reached out to a friend, and he's the CEO of a publishing company. And he was like, it's really simple, do this, this, and this. And so the book came to be, and it's really been fun because I get to take these 30 years of experience and put it into a book for people who want to do business, but also a book that I'm using at universities to help students who are looking at international development, cross-cultural relations. So there's other ways that the book is being used as well, which I think is quite cool.
That's great. That's great, especially being used at universities or in the teaching world. I think it's a terrific feather in your cap to be able to have that. Tell me a little bit about what somebody could hope to learn from getting on a phone call with you. I know just based upon our 30 minutes together as an experience is that you're not a hard-pressed salesperson that's going to try to close them into selling them something. So tell me a little bit about what that discovery call would look like and feel like if somebody wants to take a journey into discovering what Africa could be to them.
Well, it's exactly that. It's understanding what you think you might be interested in, or even just a call. I mean, I had a call yesterday with somebody who's like, listen, this is what I do. Can I do that in Africa? And so we were talking, he had some ideas about 2 or 3 countries and what did I think? And that was it. I had a call with somebody who's like, listen, I need a partner in this country. Can you help me? Or last weekend, I was at a birthday party and had a conversation with somebody that's like, hey, my CEO wants to go to Africa. Can you talk to him? And it's like, absolutely. And so honestly, that's really what it is. It's a conversation because for me, it's really a win-win. I mean, when we look at the entire world, except for the continent of Africa, has an aging population. And Africa has this amazing youth population that honestly we need. We need it in the airports so that our planes don't get canceled.
I hear you.
For example, in restaurants. But yeah, there's so much creativity there that for me, it's just, I want to just help people, give them that first step. And if it turns into something longer term, awesome. But really it's opening people's eyes that Africa has moved on from the do they know it's Christmas world, just like you and I have moved on from our yearbook pictures, thankfully.
Thankfully, we've gotten rid of the hairstyles and the. It was great music, much better music then than it is now. But the hairstyles were definitely really poor. So her book is called Africa Open for Business. It's available on Amazon, or you can head over to her website. We'll make sure we put a link in the show notes for it. Deanne, thank you so much for sharing your message and being inspiring to our audience today. Thanks for being here.
Thanks, Doug. This has been fun.
Nice Guy community, never underestimate the power of nice or the power of maybe making a move with your business to Africa. Special thanks to our guest today. All information, including access to her book and her program and how you can get in contact with her for that discovery call will be right there in the show notes. Steve O'Brien, go ahead and take us out of here.
If you're hearing my voice right now, you obviously enjoyed the podcast. So why not help the guys out? Click on the Patreon link in the show notes, and for as little as $2 a month, you can show your support. Or show us whatever you want.